Disney's live-action films grossed nearly $300 million, and the feature animations just under $100 million, when these were astronomical figures. And more than 60 million people had visited Disneyland. The Saturday Evening Post once called him the world's most celebrated entertainer and possibly its best-known non-political public figure. And the New York Times eulogized him as probably the only man to have been praised by both the American Legion and the Soviet Union. But Walt Disney's influence cannot be measured by numbers or encomia. It can only be measured by how thoroughly he reshaped the culture and the American consciousness. Disney was protean. In the late 1920s, he began reinventing animation, gradually turning it from a novelty that emphasized movement and elasticity of line into an art form that emphasized character, narrative, and emotion. In doing so, he also helped reinvent graphic design by introducing the soft, round, bold, colorful forms that decades later would be adopted and adapted by a vanguard of fine artists. The critic Robert Hughes credited him with inventing pop art itself, not only in the look he bequeathed, but also in the convergence of high art and low that he effected. It happened, Hughes wrote, when in Fantasia, Mickey Mouse clambered up to the real podium and shook hands with the real conductor, Leopold Stokowski. Beyond his animations, Disney changed the shape of American recreation with his Disneyland park. Obviously, there had been amusement parks before Disneyland, but they had been grab-bag collections of various rides, games, and shows. Disney reconceptualized the amusement park as a full imaginative experience, a theme park, rather than a series of diversions, and just as his animation revised graphic design, his park eventually revised urban design. Detractors called the effect Disneyfication, meaning the substitution of a synthetic world for a real one. But the urban planner James W. Rouse commended Disneyland as the greatest piece of urban design in the United States, for the way it managed to serve its function and satisfy its guests. And architecture critic Peter Blake wrote, "It seems unlikely that any American school of architecture will ever again graduate a student without first requiring him to take a field trip to Orlando, Florida, the site of Walt Disney World Resort, the East Coast sequel to Disneyland." In time, Disneyland, with its faux environments and manipulated experiences, would become a metaphor for a whole new consciousness in which, for better or worse, the fabricated was preferred over the authentic, and the real could be purged of its threats. As Robert Hughes put it, his achievement became a large shift in the limits of unreality. Disney's influence also impregnated the American mind in subtler, less widely recognized ways. As he reinvented animation and amusement, he changed Americans' view of their own history and values. In live-action films like So Dear to My Heart, Old Yeller, and Pollyanna, he refined and exploited a load of nostalgia that became identifiable enough to be called Disney-esque. And in others like Davy Crockett, Westward Ho the Wagons, and Johnny Tremaine, he fashioned an American past of rugged heroes and bold accomplishment that for generations turned history into boyhood adventure. By the end of his life, it was the saccharine values of the nostalgic films and the sturdy patriotism of the historical ones, as much as the cartoons that one associated with Disney, and that made him, along with Norman Rockwell, the leading avatar of small-town, flag-waving America. At the same time, however, his forward-looking television programs depicting the future helped shape attitudes about technological change, and NASA acknowledged that Disney's early drumbeating for its program was instrumental in generating public support for space exploration. It was Disney, too, who created Tomorrowland at his Disneyland theme park and collaborated with Monsanto on a House of the Future attraction there, and Disney who advanced the ideas of monorails, people movers, audio-animatronic robots, and other marvels, even to the point of designing an entire city that would, had it been built, have incorporated.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.